So here with Kevin Parsons, ex-jockey, now in the educational sector. Thanks for joining us, Kev.
Yeah, no
really
problem.
appreciate that. So I just want you to start by sort of telling us how you got into the industry and how you become a jockey and how your career sort of come from that.
So first, really, I'm from Salisbury originally, Quidhampton, and only lived sort of a mile down the hill there from the racecourse. So used to go quite often with my dad and family, and we'd go for days out, and just was amazed at the jockeys, the racing. So got riding at Coombe Bissett at Hoof Prince stable there. Got riding there, learnt how to ride. And luckily, through my mum's work, her boss owned a horse with Mick Shannon, so I then got in there for work experience. It was brilliant, and I was hooked really. Got in, saw behind the scenes, was amazed at what actually goes on, which now is sort of been part of my life. But yeah, amazed at actually all the work and effort that goes into it. So signed up a year before leaving school. Wasn't bothered about my GCSEs qualifications. I wanted to be a champion jockey really. And then off the back of that, applied to the British Racing School, which is the industry college, to basically get into understand riding and riding racehorses, which is far different to actually riding normal ponies. Left school, went to Roger Charlton's in Marlborough, big trainer there, worked for him for 4.5 years altogether. And then I moved from Roger Charlton's to David Ellsworth's in Whitesbury near Fordingbridge, and was lucky enough to be involved with some good horses. And at the time we had a couple of occasions each winter. Desert Orchid used to come in, so I literally sat on Desert Orchid a few times, riding him on the gallops, which was fun. He was strong, real big, beast of a horse. So I've been lucky enough to sit on Desert Orchid.
Just explain to people what it's like to, there's a lot of racing fans out there, and the fact that must be like a dream come, a legend of a horse.
Yeah, I mean, he was retired then, so he was just sort of stayed around the yard, ticking over and helped the youngsters learn in their job. But when the first day they said, "Oh yeah, you're going to be on Desi today," I was like, "Oh Jesus, this is good," and just gutted I never got a picture. But no, it was really, really enjoyable to sit on a horse. Obviously,
he's got a really hard job now. Like, look at the course, where the horses come out for their. And it's just absolutely beautiful. And you got an experience where you got to go to Dubai.
Part of my racing. So once I'd sort of stopped being a jockey as such, the horses need to be exercised day to day. So I worked in the industry, and I went on to become a travelling head lad. So I was lucky enough to travel to everywhere around this country, France, Ireland, Germany, and then on 2 occasions lucky enough to go to Dubai. Travelled a horse out there for. First time I was there for the 9-week carnival. I went end of January, come back end of March, and second time I went back the year after for the Dubai World Cup meeting where he run there. So 2 occasions been out to Dubai, so no, it's fantastic.
And tell us your highlight with your first winner. What did that feel like? Just put that into perspective for people. And when did it happen? How long had you been racing? In which course? So
I left school in 96, started work full time. In 97 I got my licence, and then it was September that year I had my first ride. Went all the way to Pontefract and had a fair few rides, and my dad and my granddad used to come to every race course and watch me. And then my last ride in 99 was I rode one at Newbury, and finished down the field, no good on an old horse. And then unfortunately that spring my granddad died, which was quite sad. And but my first ride following that was my first ever winner.
If that's not a sign, I don't know what is.
So I went to Brighton. I rode a horse called Willie Conker. So he was favourite in the race, 18 runners. And I got to the start, and one of the old jockeys, Ray Cochran, said to me, "Oh, you're on the favourite here, pal. You're all good." And I was like, yeah, I'm all right. He's like, just stick with me, and whatever you do, don't keep going down the inside, go around the outside, because you'll get stuck in a pocket down here around Brighton. So I'm through the race, and he's chatting away to me, and
What, during the race?
Yeah.
I didn't realise that sort of thing goes on.
Chatting.
So he's actually, you've got a competitor, one of your rivals there that's helping you, wanting you to do well.
Yeah, well, it's more, you're chatting away, and if they can't win, then, they sort of, it's quite a friendly sportsman thing. As if, you know, someone's not going very well on their horse and you need to get out and get a gap to get through, you know, and they're not going to, then, you know, they'll often not pull out the way, but obviously, you know, they'll help you along and stuff like that. So it's it is, you know, everyone looks after each other. You know, it's a high speed, you know, tough sport really. So yeah, and kicked on up the hill and went and won sort of 4 lengths on first ever winner. So yeah, ecstatic, and yeah, the feeling going past the line, and my dad was there to watch, and it was amazing feeling, first winner. Yeah, really good.
So Kev, when you were a jockey, what did your sort of day to day look like?
So a jockey, a member of racing staff, anyone that works in the industry, so generally you'd start about 6 a.m. And you'd finish about 12. So during that morning you would ride probably generally 3 or 4 horses. So you'd come in, muck all the stables out, make sure the horses are clean tidied, and then you'd ride your 3-4 horses. You'd have a little break in between, and then yeah, you'd finish at sort of 12 o'clock. You'd have a bit of a break then, and then you wouldn't go back till 4. You'd go back at 4 till 6 normally, and again just to check on the horses, give them a brush over, make sure they're all fine after their morning's work, feed them, hay them, water them again. So that's every day, relentless. They need looking after, feeding, and normally what they do is in general terms they'll get every other weekend off, the staff generally, and that traditionally has been, so everyone will work Saturday morning, so your weekend is Saturday afternoon and Sunday off basically. So you get a day and a half off every 2 weeks. That has changed slightly in the industry over time, and now they might get a night off in the week as well, or some nights off, or they might work 1 in 3 weekends. So yeah, it is changing, but yeah, that's the sort of traditional sort of day of working in the industry. Yeah.
And what about a day on a race? So you're at a big race, what time are you sort of getting up?
So again, if you're going racing, whether you're taking the horse or riding it as a jockey, if you're taking the horse to the races, normally you would do the same morning sort of routine. Go in, look after the horses, ride out some until the time that you would have to leave, and then you'd get to the race course. Now if you were taking the horse racing, you would then put it in the stable at the races, check it all in, declare that you're there and you've turned up and you're ready to run, put the jockey's colours into the changing room, and then basically an hour before the race you get the horse ready, pull it out, walk it around the pre-parade ring. One of your senior team would go and get the saddle from the jockey, to make sure they weighed out the correct weight, and then basically you put the saddle on, the jockey would come out, jump on the horse, take it down the start, whiz it up and down, come back hopefully in front normally, and then after that, again, if you were in charge of the horse, you would make sure it's all fine after the race. Make sure it's fine, no cuts, no, you know, and it's all come back safe and well. And an hour after it's run, normally you would sort of load it up back on the horse box and head home. If you're a jockey, much easier. You do your morning's work, drive to the races, put the colours on, go and get on the horse. Hopefully again, come back in front, and then when you're done, you shower, normally get changed and head off home.
Okay, cool. And how many times have you fallen off a horse?
Fallen off, hundreds. I wouldn't even be able to count, honestly. When you start off in the industry, they are, you know, they're flighty thoroughbreds, you know, and some want to throw you off, some actually want to put you on the floor, some, you know, there's some really good rides, but again, just with experience you get better at staying on, and you know, when they rear up or buck or, you know, spinning around on you. So again, yeah, it's just experience, and yeah, now it'd take a really good bucking bronco at the fair or something to get me off.
Well, let's put that to the test. And then any broken bones, or, you know, from when you fall off in the races?
Touch wood, I never broke a bone working in the industry. I've seen many people that have broken bones. It's not nice, and it can happen, and people with sort of real bad injuries, you know, on a couple of, you know, on a few occasions people have, you know, lost their life working in the industry. So yeah, it's not good, and it is a dangerous industry to be involved in. But nonetheless, days like today, you know, on the gallops here, you know, if you're riding out in a t-shirt and stuff, it's fantastic. So can't grumble. Really great industry to be a part of.
So let's hope you don't fall off, because I've jinxed it and I'm going to get a legal case against me now. Just look at it, just here at Warwick Hill. can see, just beautiful. Look at all the horses coming down now. So we're here today with Kevin Parsons, ex-jockey, and you'll hear his story over the next sort of couple of weeks. You can see just absolutely beautiful. What a glorious day. Couldn't have picked a better day, could we, Kev, really?
Nice day to come up.
Wonder if there's and these are just trainers, I'm guessing. There's no actual jockeys on these. They would come up. Would any trainers get into the race industry? Would any trainers become jockeys? Would they go down that route?
No. Generally, it'd be similar with football. So as in, you mean just the racing staff that ride the horses?
Yeah.
As for the racing staff, so generally you'll start off as a member of racing staff, as a racing groom, and then when you get your ability becomes good enough, you then get your jockey's license.
So it's like a sort of apprenticeship. You learn all the basics, what you have to go through.
So that's basically how the industry starts. So the British Racing School here in Newmarket and the National Horse Racing College in Doncaster, they are 12-week courses. So you start on your apprenticeship and then you go and work with an employer and continue your apprenticeship. During that apprenticeship, or whenever your ability is up to a good enough level, you could then end up getting your jockey's license if your employer thinks you're good enough for your racehorse trainer. And then basically from there you would end up having rides and see how you do. But again, it flips as well. So people that have retired from being jockeys go back to working, or will work in the industry and carry on training the horses day to day, exercising them. So.
And what sort of age does the average jockey retire at?
It again varies on success and how well you're doing. For me, I just preferred food and the weight.
The average guy, basically. Domino's comes calling. Money under brands available.
Yeah. So just preferred food, and the weights are really sort of testing. Your diet has to be very strict.
So what would be? So you got to jump on the scales there like you've had a Domino's this week, you can't race.
Yeah, so basically you'll get a phone call 2 days before, and if you're a successful jockey and you're riding every day, it's easy. It's if you're an apprentice and you get a ride once every 2 weeks. So yeah, it can, top weight on the flat is 9 stone 12. So that's you on the scales with your saddle and everything. You couldn't be over 9 stone 12.
And how heavy is the saddle?
The saddle can be £1.
Okay.
9 stone 12. The bottom weight on the flat is it depends what you can ride at really, but 7, 12 to 8 stone. And again, as an apprentice, you claim an allowance off the horse. So if you're claiming 7 and you've got 8 stone to do, you would have to do 7. You'd have to be 7 stone, 7 pounds stood on the scales with your saddle, all your equipment.
I'm surprised Slim Fast haven't tried to set up a collaboration to keep the jockeys down. So Kevin, obviously you hung up your boots, and tell us now about your current role, what you do, because I know that there's you've been nominated for awards and things like that, and I think people need to understand what you're trying to achieve. And this can help people sort of get into the industry, because there's a lot of people that follow horse racing. You think, well, I'm not going to cut it as a jockey. You get someone that's 6'1", they're not going to make it as a jockey. So there's a route. So yeah, if you can firstly just tell us about what you do and what you're trying to achieve.
So my current role, I've now sidestepped in the industry, and I work for the trade union of the staff that looks after the racing staff. And basically we get government funding via the Union Learning Fund to promote education and upskill and develop people within our industry. So my job is to see what courses are needed, provide courses, and to help educate the staff, upskill them. So basically you might get someone that has a bad injury or gets to a point and maybe wants to think about maybe a different career. Like myself, coming to the industry with little qualifications, actually goes, I need them now to maybe do something different. So we provide English, maths, computer skills, English language courses for the foreign staff in the industry, as well as courses in mentoring, leadership and team skills. So that's my role. We promote that here at Newmarket and around the country to all the staff that work in the industry and the wider community. So maybe a foreign staff member's family member might want to, partner might want to improve their English. We open our course up to people like that, etc. So yeah, we're there to help develop career advice, write CVs,
and tell them about other roles in the industry rather than lose them from the industry. I mean, the different, opportunities across the industry, you've got farriers that put the shoes on the horses, there's senior roles, being a head man that feeds the horses and deals with all the medication, working with the vet, and oversees the staff, horse box drivers, the office staff, and even now, a new role that's come up and is quite popular is the social media PR person that basically creates all the content for the owners, social media and stuff. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities and jobs. So that's what we're there to do, is keep people in the industry and help, refresh or improve the skills and education they've got or need.
Because we were chatting before, and I think one thing that surprised me, I expected you to say the best job that you had in racing was being a jockey. But just sort of talk about what you said your best job was and why.
Yeah, so the best job for me in the industry was as a travelling head lad. Essentially means you're in charge at the race course, you drive the lorry, you drive the horse box. So I got my HGV licence and I was driving day to day to various different race courses around the country with the runners from my stable, whichever stable I work for. So you're taking different horses, different chances to different places every single day. So every day was different. It's fascinating. Like I say, I've been lucky enough to go to Ireland, France, Germany and twice to Dubai. So got to see, the country and be around everywhere. It was great fun.
And just, can you mention that website? So this is really important because I always have a saying, which is do something that you love doing, because then it doesn't feel like a job if you've got that passion behind it. And there's a website you were saying, if you can just mention the website,
yeah,
please.
So it's www.careersinracing.com. So on there is basically there's a job board of all industry jobs, but also there's a good career path process on there, so you can type in something you'd be interested in with your skills you've got, and it would highlight a good option in the racing industry. So again, from working on a race course, maybe a groundsman at a race course, working in hospitality at a race course, to all the other roles across the industry as a vet, farrier, all the sort of smaller other roles that people just don't even think about within horse racing.
And I think that's a good thing. Check out that website, and we'll get Kevin's social media links at the end. So if anyone's got any questions, just don't message him at like 3 a.m. He won't appreciate that. I just want to ask you a few questions now. Sort of, what made you hang up your boots from being a jockey?
So really, one, obviously struggling weight wise. Like I say, the weights, are quite light on the flat. Jumping it, they're heavier. But even on the flat, it was just got to a point where, when you're not sure where your next ride is coming and the weight you might have to do, as opposed to, do I go and have a steak tonight? So yeah, that, and I wasn't quite good enough. I'd had a few rides, 70 odd rides, and just wasn't quite up to, I knew myself really. So yeah, I decided to give up on the career as a jockey, unfortunately.
And any horror stories within the industry at all?
No real horror stories. I mean, the probably the worst part about working in the industry is when you lose horses. It's, we work with the horses day in, day out. They become, they're not pets, but they are our pets. We know them inside out. And similar to someone losing a dog or something, it's heartbreaking, and, accidents happen, same as in football. Someone can break a leg, or, I've seen horses, come in, you go to collect them in the field and they've broken the leg, hitting a divot in the field. So it happens, unfortunately. It's not nice, but that's the worst part of working in the industry, is you do build a connection with these race horses. So that's the saddest bit, and it, no one feels it more than the person that looks after and rides it every single day. That's the worst part.
I can imagine that's, like you said, you've built that connection. I think what sort of opened up my mind when we were chatting earlier was about, these horses have their own personalities. It could be, they're like sort of mini humans in a sense. They could wake up on race day in a bad mood, and they're not going to race, or they feel under the weather. And it did make me chuckle when you told me that you went to a race meeting, and I was asking Kevin about, I bet you get a lot of hot tips in the industry. And he said, everybody's got a tip, everyone's an expert. And he got given there's 5 people that said, oh, my horse is going to win. So keep your money in your pocket, guys, there. Now, Was there any point in your career that you felt like you failed and you felt like just giving up and knocking on the head? And if that was the case, how do you keep going? What mental strength do you have to have?
Probably when I realised that I wasn't going to make it as a jockey. From 13, when I started riding, you know, my dream was to be a champion jockey, and you know, I suppose you sort of get to that realisation that it's not going to happen. But again, that's the, you know, part of my current role is to show people that there are so many opportunities and other options within the industry. You know, at that time when it's sort of raw, you don't sort of take that into sort of account, and you just sort of do the normal day-to-day job that you would be doing. But yeah, that was probably, but off the back of that, you know, what I thought was, you know, I then went on a few years later and got the job as a travelling head lad, which for me has been the best job I've had in the industry. So, yeah.
And most stressful part of the job?
Stressful part is probably, and you know, I'm quite a laid back person anyway, so I don't really get, you know, it takes a lot to stress me out. But working in a racing yard it's probably more nerves and a bit of stress is when you've got a really big runner, and you're on the way to the races and everything needs to be right. And as a travelling head person, you're in charge at the races. So once the horse has left the yard and you know it's in your lorry and you're driving it, you know, making sure it gets there safe. And you know, these horses can be worth $500,000, you know, upwards, you know. So that little bit of, you know, just that pressure of, you know, it's your job to make sure now they're on the way to the race course, they're kept safe and, you know, prepared, ready for the sort of time when they go into the parade ring. So, and, you know, putting the saddle on, making sure it doesn't, you know, it's not going to slip or fall off. So that bit of pressure, nerves, sort of, yeah, is, I suppose causes a little bit of stress in a way.
And in talking about the travelling, it sort of blew my mind when you said that you went to Dubai and you said, you know, they go on these sort of specially designed sort of planes where they go in, and you said there's like, was it up to 70 horses that go on a, you know, one plane, which is absolutely insane. And you said it has, you know, there's people going to say, well, surely that's damaging for the animal, but no, you said it just feels like they're in their stable, makes no difference.
In a horse box, yeah, they don't know they're up in the air. They just think they're in a horse box travelling somewhere. So yeah, they don't know any different.
And do they have to climatise? How does that, like, you know, you said you went to Dubai, the horse there, and was there any struggles with any horses when they go there, and so, how they affect their performance?
Even at the minute, and we've just had the Melbourne Cup run in Australia, so horses have flown out there and they have to have a quarantine, head out, etc. Dubai, and you've got the Breeders' Cup in America, is on shortly. Dubai, yeah, some horses are acclimatised really well. They take them a couple of days and won't bother them. Again, same as humans, probably travelling really. And some will take, you know, a week to get used to the hot weather, or they might lose a fair bit of weight travelling. So yeah, it depends on each individual horse. Again, like we're saying, you know, they've all got different personalities. There's lazy ones, some that worry, some that, you know, want to go 100 miles everywhere, some that just, you know, you have to wake them up to get them to go anywhere. So yeah, each horse is different. And
any rivals in the industry or anybody that you hate racing against? Did you pay someone like to just do something to put extra weight on their stuff or anything like that?
No, it is, you know, everyone sort of is all wanting to ride winners, you know, or have winners as your yard. So, you know, you generally only one can win any race. So, you know, if you're third and they're fifth, it makes no difference. It's about the winning. So, no, there's no real major rivalries. And you often end up sort of friends with most people. So, you know, people I, from when I was 16, knew, and, you know, when you turned up, you know, as a jockey and you're riding in the same race and you have a bit of banter and you go, I'm going to beat you. And, you know, one of my good friends, we had a bet, we had a pound a length, so every length that the other finished in front of the other one had to pay up, sort of thing. So we used to have fun stuff like that. But yeah, that was no real huge rivalry as such.
It is really that sort of family feel, isn't it? Like everybody's supporting each other. That sort of really surprised me. It sort of seems one of the more respectful sports out there.
Yeah, it is. Racing is quite a bubble, and like, you know, I can chat about it, and most of this stuff is normal day-to-day stuff. You know, when people like you've come up today to Newmarket and see behind the scenes and what goes on, and it's like, wow, you know. But yeah, it's day to day, and it is quite a bubble racing, and everyone, you know, knows everybody, looks out for each other, etc. You know, so.
Best part about being a jockey?
Was winners. That's what the industry's built on, winners. You know, I was lucky enough to steer 2 winners, both at Brighton, and yeah, the winners is the best part.
Did you win a lot of money? Are you able to say?
No. So the percentage is actually not what anyone thinks. So an average race would be worth about £4,000, and the jockey gets about 7 or 8%. So it's not actually a huge amount. Obviously, if you're winning the big races, you know, the Derby that, you know, this year was £500,000, etc., and you're winning them races, it's different. And obviously the jockeys at the top end can earn quite a bit of money. But day to day, you get your riding fee, which I think, I'm not sure, is about £120 for a jockey for a ride. So if you get a ride, but then you pay, bits come out of that for your agent, your valet's fee. So the valet is the person that makes sure your stuff and equipment's ready before you go out to the race, before the saddle goes on. So there's little bits that come out of that. So you probably end up with about £80 by the time you paid your petrol to get there.
That's insane. So you've got to have a real love, or you've got to be very successful. You've got to have an element of luck in there as well, really.
Yeah, massively. Luck, being in the right place, right time, or being, you know, and doing quite well, then a bigger stable coming in and offering you a sort of job there to ride better quality horses and bigger horses on the big race days that you see on the TV.
What would you say the percentage then is from being successful between skill and luck in the race?
Oh, it's there are a lot of good jockeys out there that have, you know, and you do need luck, and you need the right horse. You know, if you're riding a load of rubbish, you know. So there are a lot of good jockeys out there that maybe don't get the big breaks, or haven't ever had them big breaks. But yeah, similar to football, you know, if you the better ones are generally the better ones. And it's about, you know, when to make a move, judging the pace of, you know, the race. They're going too fast at the front end and they're all going to come back to me, so I'll sit, and it's, you know, tactical as well, a lot of the racing. So, you know, that comes from experience. More rides you get, you know, the more you know. And so yeah, it's the best jockeys, you know, are very good. And for me, the best jockey, you know, I've seen is in my time is Ryan Moore. Yeah,
what made him so good?
All them elements: tactical, strong in a finish, tidy. Just rarely gets it wrong on a big day.
So he's like the Pep of the football world, then, essentially.
Yeah,
just lives and breathes it, essentially.
Yeah, and, you know, dedicated to it. Full stop. Yeah, Ryan is the best jockey in my time in racing.
Okay, tell me about a difficult situation you've overcome in your career.
Difficult situation, that's tough. Probably difficult situation is probably, and this happens with a lot of staff across the industry, is you'll think the grass is greener, and you'll maybe move to another job, and then, you know, a few weeks, couple of months in, you're like, why did I leave that last place? And that probably, yeah, there's been sort of 2 jobs I've gone to where I could go, you know, I wish I hadn't gone there. And probably it's, you know, you've gone there and you've made that decision, and it's probably, you know, being proud enough to say, actually, that was wrong, you know, I maybe should have stayed where I was, and then, you know, you're having to sort of move somewhere else again. So that's probably the bit that I've had to overcome a couple of times, is going places where I probably shouldn't have gone and worked.
Okay. And what did you least like about being a jockey?
The weight element. I mean,
I'm going to give you a complex by the end of this, aren't I?
No. It's I joke about it now. So when I left school and went to the British Racecourse, I was 7 stone. My first ride at Pontefract, I had to do 7 stone 5, so I was about 7 stone 3 on the day. So yeah. But it's maintaining that, and obviously as you grow, get older, you get heavier naturally, and yeah, it's trying to maintain that. And it's easy, like I said, if you're getting lots of rides, because you know when your next ride's coming, but when you're not getting so many, it's harder then. So
Okay, and how can people find you, Kevin?
I've got Facebook, which is generally I use for family stuff. I don't really put much on there. Twitter, I generally use for football and racing stuff. So I'm on Twitter, just KDP888. Search my name, you'll find me, and that's about it really. I don't really use anything else.
And you happy if anybody's got any questions,
any
just to get into the career, down the route, because you do a lot and you can give people, like there's so many people that love racing and will look back and wish I could got into that, and there's routes to get down.
Yeah, just get in touch. Any questions, I'm happy to answer anything.
So please get in touch with Kevin, because he's a great guy and he's been in the industry a long time. So now I'm going to make you feel a little uncomfortable, Kev. So let's talk about corruption. So is there any corruption in the sport? If so, how's it measured and monitored?
Back in the day, no doubt, in the 60s, 70s, probably 80s, no doubt, you hear sort of random stories of stuff that went on. Nowadays, there's video cameras at every single angle on a race course, so nothing could be, you couldn't really get away with anything these days. So there wouldn't be any, to be honest, and if there is, it would get caught. Very little. I mean, the only way you could do it and put it in normal athletics terms would be running Mo Farah over Usain Bolt's distance and vice versa. If you wanted to get a horse beat, that would be, everyone knows most horse in racing, so to do that you'd sort of stand out. So that would be the only possible way. So no, for me it's totally gone now, and if they win there, they winning fairly.
So if someone had a wealthy granddad, then he'd probably corrupt back in the 70s.
Could have been, who knows, you hear old stories and tales and whatever, but since my time in the industry it's changed massively.
And talk to us as well, I think this is something that you were telling me about the whips. So people think, the whips, people treating these horses, it's cruelty. Just tell everybody about that. So
again, really talking about, when you think about, the people deal with these animals day in, day out, no one wants to hurt the animals. The whip is air cushion nowadays, so it's more for sound and more of a sort of shock effect. If someone does whip you and you're not expecting it, but it is so air cushion nowadays. It's unreal. It actually doesn't cause any harm or pain to a horse whatsoever. It's more the sound of it actually hitting them, and they go, I best go a bit quicker. And again, if a horse doesn't go for one smack, it won't go for 10. So, jockeys are sensible. They're not just going to keep hitting one if it's not sort of making them go a bit faster. And again, that's part of the education of becoming a jockey. So, the whip, it is again an old school thing of you're beating horses up, but it actually it's not. It's way different. The whips are very well designed these days, and with an air cushion sponge in the end, so it doesn't actually cause any harm whatsoever.
There you have it, complete myth there. So Kev, we've had a few stories that I want Kev to share. Now tell us a story about Kieren Fallon.
My last ever ride, actually, to be fair, I was at Bath and getting just jockeymanship and stuff. Sat in the stalls, and I'd been told to sit handy and draw next to Kieren. He says, so Kevin, what are you doing in this one? And I said, just sit handy. He said, I think you'd be better dropping out, mate. And obviously, youngish at the time. And I was like, well, I've been told to sit handy. He's like, no, you listen to me. You're better off dropping out. I'm going to be sitting handy. The gate's open. I've pinged him. He was slow away, and I've gone and kicked up and sat handy. About 4 furlongs into the race, I see a horse loom upsides me as I see its head come up, and I hear, "Oh, you little!" You didn't listen to me, did you? And then anyway, we turned in about 3 to run at Bath, and me and Kieren are upsides, and he's gone and give it a kick in the belly, and he's gone on and won. I finished about 4th, and pulling up, he apologised for shouting at me, and it's just his competitive nature, and he wanted to win, so fair play. Part of being a jockey and jockeymanship, I suppose.
And you were just at that stage of being concerned of getting a bollocking off your boss, essentially, so
yeah, I mean,
you disrespected one of the best jockeys around.
Yeah, it's just one of them things, what goes on, really, so yeah.
And I just think I mean, you've had, you've lived a good life within the industry. You're doing some great things. Tell us a story. I don't know if you can say his full name. When you first got in, you were in that house with a chap called Neil.
Oh yeah, so Neil Pollard, good friend of mine, been friends for years. So yeah, Neil just we both joined Elsie's, and Neil was there a little bit before me, and Neil just saying about the luck and being right place, right time. Neil literally one of his first rides for Elsie on a old horse at Kempton went and won, and from there absolutely flourished, and went on to be sort of second in the Apprentice title and rode hundreds of winners. A real good lad. Neil, still good friends. My first ride for Elsie, I finished 7th at Salisbury and never got anywhere. That's just a bit of luck and a bit of life. That's what happens.
And also the story about when one of your bosses there, and you got a bollocking one day, and he ended up putting you on a good horse. Just share that story.
Yeah, so I was just chatting about really David Ellsworth and working for Elsie. Well known, he blows hot at times, and he's loves to scream and shout. He always has done. That's Elsie. We were laughing and joking one morning, me and the lads at the yard, and he come bombing down in his car. What are you doing, messing about on these horses? These are animals, and you should be being serious. And nothing untoward or bad was happening. We were just having a laugh and a joke. Anyway, we goes home at breakfast. Comes back in half an hour later, and as I'm walking through the gate, Elsie's walking towards me out the tunnel. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to get another rollick in here. And he just says, Kevin, you're riding that horse tomorrow at Brighton. See me in the morning for instructions. And albeit it goes to Brighton, it was my first winner. So yeah, great, and that was the best thing about Elsie is, he'd give you a rollick in, but 10 minutes later it was forgotten. So no, it was my first winner. So yeah, it was good.